Good afternoon, class. My name is Matt Milton, and today I will be presenting to you the most important factors about persuasion and how it relates to business. Before I start, I just want to say a couple of things about persuasion. There are a lot of different ways to be persuasive. There's a lot of different contributing factors and characteristics of people that are persuasive. Um, some of them are like gender, ethnicity, intelligence, basic stuff, self-esteem. There's a lot of different things that come into play when you're being persuasive or when you're trying to persuade. Um, Initially, I want to start off going over a few things. We're going to start with our introduction, which we'll just go over what persuasion is or what we're going to do here, and we'll go over the three important theories of persuasion. I've selected three out of the list that was provided that I thought were the most important or that were the most interesting or relevant to business and sales. And then we'll talk about how it relates to business, sum it all up, and we'll be done. So first I want to talk about the Yale approach. This is a theory. Um, it was created by Carl Haviland. He was involved in a lot of different research when it comes to persuasion. This is not the only theory he was involved in. It focuses, if the research mainly focuses on, and it categorizes persuasion into five main components. Um, After presenting the message or whatever you're trying to persuade, the Yale approach suggests that in order to communicate it properly, the audience must first pay attention. The message must be something that can retain the attention of the audience. The next step in persuasion is comprehension. The audience must understand the message before it can influence their attitude. So it's not gonna, your message or whatever you're trying to convey is not gonna stick or comprehend with somebody that has no idea what you're talking about. Um, Yielding is the next step, and it focuses on the acceptance the audience will have to the message. Um, Retention, which is the last step, focuses on how long the message will last, and behavior is measured by the message, how the message has actually affected the actions of the audience. Um, so I think this is probably the most in-depth theory about persuasion. Again, I think Carl Hovland is just an incredible researcher. He's over there at Yale, and I think he does a phenomenal job, or he did a phenomenal job. I don't know if he's still alive today. Next, we're going to talk about the cognitive dissonance theory. The cognitive dissonance theory was created by Leon Festinger and focuses on the ability to comprehend good and bad thoughts and how they relate to behavioral decisions and attitude change. So it basically focuses on good and bad thoughts and how you retain those thoughts. The theory doesn't explain a way to be more persuasive, but it gives the reader an understanding on how people associate dissonance with consonance. The idea that good thoughts create consonance and bad thoughts create dissonance, causing the person to possibly feel uncomfortable and retain less of your message. So this theory is, to me, it's relatively obscure, but it does explain that if it's a positive message that you're trying to convey to your audience, the chances of you persuading them would be increased exponentially versus a negative message. At least that's what I got from reading the research on that particular theory. And I think that's true. I don't think a negative message it would be half as persuasive as a positive message, or at least a what would appear to be a positive message. I work in a bank. I work at Wells Fargo, so we always have to try to persuade our customers to do what we think would be best for them ethically, which is always kind of tough because you never know. It's hard to tell sometimes what the customer needs, but if you present your whatever you're trying to sell or negotiate in a positive way, ethically, a lot of times you'll get a positive response and you'll be more persuasive. So just keep that in mind when you're being persuasive in the business world. And the last theory we're going to look at today about persuasion is the social judgment and involvement theory. This is a model of judgment. This theory focuses on the reader's judgment of the message and how bias can impact attitude change. If the topic or message is not important to the listener, then comprehension will reduce. I believe this theory is exponentially useful because it suggests it suggests the message the creator is trying to convey. Um, you have to have a detailed understanding of your audience before you can effectively convey your message. And I think that's incredibly important. You don't try to sell or you don't try to persuade somebody to do something when you have no idea what their needs are. You have no idea who they are, or if it would even be worth trying to persuade them to do. And the theory focuses a lot on people's bias and their previous understanding, previous knowledge. There was an example given in the theory that explains it was a professor who used a bucket of warm water, a bucket of cold water, and a bucket of lukewarm water. And he would have one student put their hand in the cold water, one student put their hand in the hot water, and then both students put their hand in the lukewarm water. And then he would ask what temperature the water was. Well, of course, the individual whose hand was in the cold water would say that the water was hot, and the individual who had his hand in the hot water would say that the water was cold. I think this is a good example because it shows that um, your bias, your groundings, whatever you believe can massively affect your ability to be persuaded. So I think those are basically the biggest theories about persuasion. But now I want to talk briefly about how it affects you in the workplace, because in sales, you have to be incredibly persuasive. And understanding those three theories will help you be persuasive. And you can't, if you don't have a basic understanding of how it works and how the mind works and how individuals perceive what you're telling them, then it's very difficult to be effective with your persuasion and honest with your persuasion, because you don't want to come off seeming fake or selling something that they don't need, pushing products that they don't need. Smart people will pick up on that quick. Business and persuasion goes hand in hand. And in order to effectively sell something to a customer, you must understand the customer. And this goes back to the last theory we were talking about. You have to have an understanding of your customer before you can even start trying to be persuasive. It just doesn't work. It's not a broad paint brush that you can use. You have to have some type of understanding before you can be persuasive effectively. Understanding persuasion is easily one of the biggest advantages someone can have in the business world. This is absolutely true. I think that persuasion in sales is king. If you are honest, ethical, um, charismatic, knowledgeable, all of those traits will help you be persuasive and successful. And you should understand that before trying to be, before being uh, disappointed because people don't believe you or they don't accept whatever the message you're trying to convey. And that basically discusses how you can use it in the business world. It's sales. You have to be able to persuade your customer to buy your products or services, and that is the most important part. I think this class focuses on the customer relationship. It focuses on sales, and that's something that I had to learn how to do at work. And being able to learn these new theories, these new categories about persuasion that I had never even thought about before, it's something that I can apply to my work, and it'll help me be successful. So that's really my biggest message about this particular lesson. The three theories that I found most important, how you can use them in the business world and sales, and how it can help your life or help you be successful, make money, and build relationships with customers. That is about it about persuasion, guys. I hope you enjoyed this presentation. Have a wonderful day, and I'll see you later.